After the break, top marks for London's A-level students and the Rolling Stone with something to roar about. Join us in a moment.
Now the latest ITV News in London.
Tonight, top marks, London students outshine the rest. In a tough year to learn, the capital's teenagers earned more A's and A stars than anywhere else in the country.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh my God.
I'll come out with 3 A's and I'm not, like, I can't express how happy I am.
Also on the programme, 1 woman is killed and 3 injured after a rush hour bus crash. Taking on the biggest wildfires in Europe, Croydon firefighters experiencing Greece.
It gets hotter and hotter throughout the day, the humidity. You know, we're struggling to find shade at times.
And why this Rolling Stone has something to roar about. Good evening. After all that hard work in the most extraordinary circumstances, London students woke up this morning and had every reason to be proud. Nearly half achieved the top A and A-star grades, the best results in the country. This year, the marks were based on teacher assessments after exams were cancelled because of the pandemic. But perhaps an indication of how the last year has affected teenagers differently, those at independent schools did even better than state schools. Chloe Keedy has the details.
Anyone that's been there
the UK will have to significantly increase defence spending.
Oh, I'm so happy with that. Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
But for students at this academy in Uxbridge, their A-level results mark the end of an extraordinarily challenging year. And as it turned out this morning, finally gave them something to celebrate.
Well done.
Has it been tough?
It's been really hard, yeah, especially with online school. But we've all tried our best and I'm really happy with the outcome.
I was hoping for a double A star A, but I've got a triple A star, so...
I needed 3 B's to get into the university I needed to, and I'll come out with 3 A's and I'm not, like, I can't express how happy I am, like.
And he's not the only one. Once again this year, grades were allocated by teacher assessment rather than examination. And once again, overall, they were up. 2 years ago, 26.9% of pupils in London were awarded an A or A-star grade. Last year, that climbed to more than 40%. And this summer, it was 47.9%, the highest in the country.
Absolutely. Students have got better results this year than maybe in previous years, but it has been an exceptional year. They've been dealing with exceptional challenges, and I think it's, just rewards for all their hard work.
But there is concern that this year's increase hasn't been evenly spread and has in fact widened existing gaps.
Private schools have seen the biggest increase in their grades, particularly at grade A or higher over the last year. It's up 9 percentage points in comparison to less than 6 at most other types of state schools. And that is going to lead to a huge amount of competitiveness, particularly for places at the top, most selective universities.
Phone lines were busy at the University of Greenwich's clearing centre today.
Now, these guys have been busy answering the phone since 8 o'clock this morning, but because the university's already accepted more students than in previous years, that means it has fewer clearing places to offer.
But according to the university's Vice-Chancellor, that's not just because more pupils have achieved higher grades.
We've got to remember the demographics has changed, so we've got more 18-year-olds coming through. So I would attribute it to that. I'd attribute it to some students decided not to apply last year and are now applying. But we still have places. Students shouldn't panic. There are options.
And with the Education Secretary saying he wants all universities to get back to face-to-face learning from September, prospective students have even more to celebrate. Chloe Keedy, ITV News.
OK, lots to talk about then. I'm joined by education expert Laura McIntyre. Hello, Laura. First of all, we should say a real achievement for students and teachers today.
enormous. I mean, over the past 18 months, they've been in school, out of school, dealing with mass testing, dealing with the fact they thought they were going to have exams up until January, and then for 2 months, no one knew what was going to go on. So it's extraordinary that we've all got through this, and there's so many young people going to university now.
On this day, people like us put the results and compare them to other years. How fair do you think that is, given all they've been through in these last 18 months?
You know, there's an education commentator, Sam Friedman, said yesterday, you can't look at this as grade inflation like currency inflation. It's practically like a whole different currency altogether. What these grades are based on is completely different, even than last year. Of course, last year, teachers essentially had to guess what they thought their students were going to get because of the way that schools closed so suddenly in the springtime. This year, there have been endless amounts of assessments in school, whether it was tests, whether it was coursework, whether it was homeworks, and it's been based on a range of evidence. So it's not comparable in any sense, but ultimately it's done its job, and lots of young people are going on to the next step, jobs, apprenticeships and so on.
Can we make one comparison between this year's results, between state and private schools? We know that results are up across the board, but the private schools have done better. What do you put that down to?
I mean, there's a few things. First of all, the private schools were more able to shift quickly to online learning because they could assume having fewer pupils, they knew that they had laptops, they could assume that they had internet at home more easily. And if they didn't get those devices to them more quickly. So I think there's that. Home circumstances also make an enormous difference. And ultimately, if you were a pupil who was in more crowded environments or you found it more difficult to work from home, that's likely to have had more of an impact this year. And that might be why we're seeing those disadvantaged pupils not pulling away at the same rate as those in private schools. But remember, more disadvantaged pupils than ever before going to university.
Chloe was just talking about demand being up at universities. How's clearing looking today?
I mean, the clearing numbers were down this morning. So if you were going into clearing, it was a much heavier race than it has been in the past. Last year, there was about 4,500 clearing places in the morning of A-level results. This year, it was only about 2,500. Some of those will have cleared up. And that's just because so many more young people got the grades to get into their first choice universities. And it's put a real squeeze on places. We saw universities such as the University of Leeds saying from yesterday that they weren't going to have any clearing places at all. Others, like Greenwich, are saying it's been tough, but they have still got places available. So if you want one, please do, get on the phone and look to see what's out there.
OK, good luck to all those people, and thank you for your analysis, Laura. Really appreciate it. There will be plenty more results on Results Day on the ITV News at 6:30. Here's a look ahead now with Charlene.
Coming up, as A-levels hit record highs, we'll analyse the results and explore the issues raised. Because there's joy as 45% of grades are A-stars and A's, but anger as the gap between state and private schools widens. Also ahead, the latest on legal papers in the US that accuse Prince Andrew of sexual assault. And could cricket join the Olympics? The sport bids to take part for the first time since 1900. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
A woman has died and 3 others have been injured in a crash involving 2 single-decker buses at Victoria Station. It happened during rush hour this morning. Katie Barnfield is there for us now. Katie, what more do we know about this?
Well, yes, as you say, it happened this morning. It was about 8:25, and it seems that a single-decker number 507 bus has crashed into the back of another one here. And as you mentioned, one woman has sadly died. She's believed to be a pedestrian in her 30s. 2 more people are being treated in hospital this evening, and another person was treated here by paramedics a little earlier on. Now, just in the last few minutes behind us here, the police have taken the cordon down and the bus station has now started to reopen. But earlier on, during the time of the incident, you could very clearly see those 2 buses collided with each other, and the back one with its windscreen completely smashed in. Now, there's been some pretty distressing descriptions from people who were here this morning and saw what happened. They've described hearing a woman screaming and seeing people rushing over trying to help her. Now, this evening we have heard from the Mayor of London. He has tweeted saying, "I'm extremely saddened to hear that a woman was tragically killed this morning. My thoughts are with her family. I'm in close contact with TfL, who are working with the bus operator, and the police to investigate. Now, we do know that the operator of both of the buses involved here was Go Ahead. Some very serious questions for them this evening about exactly how such a serious accident was able to happen here.
Katie Barnfield at Victoria, thank you. The inquest into the death of convicted terrorist Sudesh Aman has been shown the dramatic final seconds of his life as he suddenly charged at police before being shot. The 20-year-old had stolen a knife from a shop on Streatham High Road before stabbing 2 people at random just weeks after he was released from prison. Witnesses today described the unfolding terror as unreal. A warning: Sam Holder's report contains details of his death.
On the bottom right, Sudesh Aman bursts out of a shop carrying a stolen knife, just behind some of the specially trained officers who've been following him. The convicted terrorist runs down Streatham High Street, stabbing 2 people. A scene so quick, so violent, passers-by thought it wasn't real. While being chased by surveillance officers, Sudesh Aman suddenly stopped, turned round and ran directly towards them, knife in hand. They opened fire and he collapsed barely 3 feet in front of them. The inquest today heard that if they had delayed by even a fraction of a second, he would have been on them. The police feared he was planning an attack. This was the morning he carried it out, leaving his bail hostel. The team following him had been moved onto 24-hour-a-day armed surveillance, because the day before, he'd made a suspicious purchase on Streatham High Street. Iron brew bottles and tin foil, items they feared he would, and he eventually did, use to make a fake bomb. When he was shot dead, officers couldn't tell if it was real or not. The inquest heard one shouting, "He's got a vest." They were forced to clear people and cars from the area, out of fear that it could explode. They were so worried they only gave 1 first aid kit to the injured and kept the other in case they were caught in a blast. Sudesh Aman's body was on the pavement for an hour before explosive experts arrived. Even with constant surveillance and intelligence he was preparing a fake suicide belt, Sudesh Aman still managed to carry out an attack. But officers were on the scene within seconds, and from him leaving the shop to being shot dead lasted just over a minute. Sam Holder, ITV News.
A 16-year-old boy who was stabbed in Haringey has died in hospital. The teenager was found with stab injuries inside Lordship Recreation Ground on Sunday, the 1st of August, and died earlier today. His family are being supported by specialist officers. Cars, vans and lorries are going to be banned from a Stoke Newington High Street during the day to improve air quality and road safety. Hackney Council has announced that the restrictions on Church Street will run from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. every day of the week. From the end of September, only buses, emergency vehicles and cars registered to blue badge holders will be permitted. And a disabled swimmer has been granted permission for a judicial review of the new charges at Hampstead Ponds. Christine Ftimoyu from Camden is arguing that the ponds are no longer affordable for disabled people who rely on benefits. Mandatory entry fees were introduced by the City of London in 2020, doubling the charges for adults and increasing concessions charges by 140%. A Croydon firefighter has spoken of the danger and punishing conditions she faces helping to tackle Greek wildfires. Tracy Doyle is one of 4 London firefighters sent to Greece as part of an international search and rescue team. She says her and her colleagues have watched as fires jumped across roads without warning. Our correspondent Simon Harris has more.
For days, Greek firefighters have been trying to hold the line in a battle with nature. The raging wildfires have devastated communities. The operation to halt the flames has become an international effort, and among the 21 British firefighters are 4 from London.
The conditions here in Greece are punishing. With the heat, it gets hotter and hotter throughout the day, the humidity. We're struggling to find shade at times because it's literally the heat is so intense when you're working. You have to remember to actually replenish your salts, your foods, water intake, because, you can literally fatigue at a moment's notice.
Tracy and her colleagues are in an area of Greece called Arcadia. They're trying to create fire breaks and they have to constantly be on their guard.
You're listening to wind change, you're seeing the difference in the trees, you'll hear the birds will stop singing, all the wildlife just completely disappears, and before you know it, there's a fire straight in front of you. We've actually seen fires jump from one side of the road to the other, and literally without a moment's notice. So we're also being very mindful and aware of the actual wind conditions. It's very hot here, it's very dry, and the humidity is quite intense. So, we have spotters everywhere looking for smoke.
The London firefighters are part of an international search and rescue team based at Croydon Fire Station. They're on standby 24 hours a day to fly to disaster zones like earthquakes and tsunamis. And on this mission, they're being helped by a colleague who, thanks to the pandemic, is working from home in Greece.
His name's Apollo. He's a part-time firefighter out in Athens, and we've managed to link the team with him so that we've got, a familiar face, a local face as well that can help us with resourcing, translation, etc. whilst they're out there. So that's fantastic.
The Greek wildfires are unlike anything the London firefighters have faced.
It's completely different from where I'm based in Croydon to come out here to Greece. Humidity, heat, unpredictability with the fires, wind, it's completely different.
If they're needed, the Londoners will be in Greece for at least another week. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Still to come, plenty of sunshine in the weather forecast, plus the O2 reopens with a big thank you concert with Damon Emperoban and the Gorillas, while Lions are the concern for another rock star. But first, they gave us plenty to cheer about on Fantastic Friday with medals for both the men's and women's 4x100 metres relay teams in Tokyo. The women's quartet, an all-London lineup, won bronze, with the men's team, half of whom are from London, picking up silver. Now back home and able to reflect on their success, I'm delighted to say two of them are able to join me now, Asha Philip and CJ Ooja. Hello to you both. Welcome to the programme.
Hello, you're right.
OK, Asha, let's come to you first. You're back home. I've been going through your Instagram feed. Are your family sick of you showing off that medal yet?
Definitely not. My brother's not allowed to hold it after he dropped my last one. So, but yeah, they're happy to be here and just like play with it, especially my nephews. I bet they're very proud of their auntie. They really are. I feel like my nephew wants to be me when he's older.
So let's go back to Tokyo then. We were all watching in the office. You said a record in the heats. There was incredible excitement. You got the bronze. Was there slight disappointment at the end? I noticed the body language between you while you were waiting for it to come up on the board, and you seem a little disheartened.
No, we were just scared to see if we got it through the box. That was all. I think it's like a nail-biting situation when like everything happens so fast and you have like milliseconds to make a decision, and we're just happy it got through and there was no DQ that came up. That's the only reason why we were scared. So obviously to come back from 2016 being we're getting a bronze there and bringing a bronze home in Tokyo, so that's just amazing just to get back-to-back medals. So it was a really great experience.
Were you nervous about some of those changes then? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. They were a bit sticky. Me and Amani just got it just for the line, so that was a great thing. But yeah, it happened. But you just, with any relay, anything could happen, and we were just grateful it was in, and there was no DQ. We got a decent time. Obviously, it wasn't another national record that we hoped for, but a medal was what we wanted, and we got that.
OK, let's go over to you, CJ. Again, we were watching. It looked so close. It looked like you could get the gold. And then, of course, you got the silver. What was it like for you on the track? How aware were you?
To be fair, if I'm honest, because I'm on the first leg, so I'm on the top bend on the track. And for me, it looked like we got the gold, but I knew it was pretty tight. So then when I looked up at the board, I saw that Italy just about got it by 100th of a second. So obviously at the time we wanted to win, and you know it was heartbreaking. But we haven't got a medal in 16 years, so it's an amazing achievement for us and the team.
I remember Nathaniel particularly looked quite distraught, and you were all comforting him. Were there some tricky conversations for you afterwards?
Do you know what? It's credit to all of the guys and the team. We've come there to win, and you know sometimes it's hard because even though we've got a medal, we've actually come there to do a job, and that was to win. But no, we just told him, listen, at the end of the day, he can't take the blame. It could have been any of our legs we could have run a bit faster. So it's a team effort, and that's the main thing. But we're happy to come away with the medal, and that's the main thing.
And speaking of teams, and speaking to both of you, what was really clear is the amazing chemistry that you all have. It was so nice watching you all celebrating together, and with Laura Muir. I wonder, would you like there to be a mixed event for the 4x100 so that you could get together all and run it like they did this year?
I don't think a 4x1 would work.
Why not?
I think it can work. I do. This is something I was actually looking at the start of the championships when Athletics started. I was thinking, oh, why don't they make one for the guys? We did something in Manchester Street Games a couple years back, but I think it would be interesting and a new time.
I could not have one of you guys charging into me. That would be scary. They run too fast for that.
So maybe the first thing to do is get on the same page about whether you can do it, and then work on practicing it. I don't know.
They actually did it for a meet in Australia. Didn't they do that, CJ? What was that? What meet was it? They did a mixed 4x1. So it has been done, but I think I'd watch from the sidelines.
OK, we'll let you work this out together then. Asha, CJ, congratulations to both of you. Fantastic speaking to you.
Thank you.
Well, for the first time in more than 500 days, the O2 Arena will host a live show tonight, a free concert for NHS workers and their families. The special event marks the reopening of the venue and will also see the return of the band Gorillaz to the stage after more than 2 years. Damon Emperoban, the former Blur frontman and co-founder of the group, says it is a big moment and a big thank you to NHS staff who worked tirelessly throughout the pandemic. He's been speaking to Rags Martel.
At the O2, music is back. Locked down for a year and a half, the Gorillaz are reopening the venue with a special concert for the NHS.
Everyone has been touched by this, and everyone needs to give everyone in the NHS and everyone who works in the care sector a massive, great hug and thank you, because they really have just been through the most horrendous 18 months. Their job's not easy at the best of times, and it's just been horrendous. They're all heroes, obviously.
Like other London venues, the O2 closed in March last year. What followed was more than 500 days without a show, until tonight, when the public are finally being allowed back in. And how different is it now with the COVID restrictions backstage? Do you notice anything different, or does it seem business as usual?
I think with all these things, it's your own state of mind. I mean, you know, if you're naturally a neurotic person, things are heightened, aren't they? Personally, I'm quite laid back about things like that. So it doesn't really feel any different, to be honest with you. I mean, I respect everything that I'm asked to do, but people's behaviour is back to normal in many ways, which is good. I mean, you know, it's something we have to live with now. I don't think it's irresponsible to start to feel like we're living our lives again, you know.
But this is a landmark moment, not just for music, but for the business of shows.
It's been a long road, you know, it's been tough. It's been really difficult at times for the staff, you know, keeping people motivated. We've had a lot of people on furlough. That scheme was a godsend, you know, but, you know, we've got through it and we're all super excited for this evening.
It's almost important that art comes back in a way, because lots of the theatres have been shut down.
Yeah, well, we need to come back very strong, you know. We need to come back very strong, because with all culture, if it gets severed, that flow, sometimes it's very hard for it to come back. If you think about the number of people that are required to put on a show like ours, it's an enormous amount of people, and so many people have had to sort of stop doing what they love and go and do something else. So to just get everyone back up to speed and sort of match fit, you know, I think has been a real challenge. So we need to come back really strong, and we're going to open this place back up and tell the world that London's back.
Beautifully put there. Damon Emperoban speaking to Rags Martin. We've got another celeb coming up, Ronnie Wood, in just a few moments. But first, onto the weather, and the rain has finally stopped and the sun has even come out. So let's have a look at the forecast now for the next few days. Here's Chris Page.
Making the most of it, whatever the weather. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. Finally today it's felt a little bit more like a summer's day. A fairly fine start first thing this morning, just some patchy amounts of cloud. In fact, I step out of the way here, you can see that in its fine glory as well. A sunny start to the day for all. As we go through the rest of this evening and overnight though, we do have this weather front out towards the west, which will just introduce more cloud across western parts of the country. For us though, actually it's going to bring up some more warmth. So things tomorrow could be a little higher than today, those temperatures, but it will gradually introduce more cloud as we go into tomorrow afternoon. For many though, through the rest of this evening and overnight, we hold on to those clearing skies. There'll be some patchy amounts of cloud here and there, maybe some low mist and murk across the far southern home counties, but I think for most actually, a fairly quiet night to come with temperatures between 12 and 15 degrees. It means that as we start tomorrow morning, lots more sunshine around first thing. Yes, there'll be a little bit more cloud, just beginning to roll its way in from the west into the afternoon, possibly the odd light shower here and there where the cloud is thick enough. And tomorrow temperatures could reach 21 to 24 degrees Celsius, but if we do see more sunshine, we might just pop 25 degrees. So that's the mid-70s of Fahrenheit. By Thursday, the weather front is now straddled across much of the capital, so there will be some cloud at times, but still with some sunny spells into the afternoon. I think for the majority, though, staying dry, and again, where we do see that sunshine, feeling quite warm and pleasant, 21 to 24 degrees Celsius, again into the mid-70s of Fahrenheit. So as we go through the rest of this week and into the weekend, we hold on to some sunny spells at times, more cloud as we go towards Thursday, but yes, temperatures into the mid-20s for all, with some sunshine at times. Bye-bye.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
And finally, far from the grasslands of Africa, a pride of lions have found home here in London's urban jungle. Sculptures of the animals are dotted through the streets of the capital, as well as in 7 other locations around the world as part of the Tusk Lion Trail. Each one was designed and decorated by an artist or a celebrity with the aim of raising awareness about the threats to lions in the wild. Rolling Stone Ronnie Wood has supported the charity since the early 90s and says designing his was particularly special. He's been speaking to Anton Allen.
These lions won't roar, but Ronnie Wood wants their message to echo around London's urban jungle.
Stamp out the poachers. They're the ones that are just really killing them for no reason at all.
As a member of the Rolling Stones, Wood's hands are known for making music, but he also uses them to express his passion for art and causes he supports. Today in Piccadilly Circus, a pride of big cat sculptures have been painted to raise awareness for Africa's declining lion population.
When people look at your lion, what do you want them to take from it?
I want them to maybe be affected by the words on it. It says fight against the poachers and help save my friends, the rhinos and the elephants. And maybe the children and people will just take note of that.
Lions aren't the first animal Ronnie Wood has tried to save. In 2018, he hand-painted a rhino, but today there are more rhinos in the world than wild lions. Ronnie hopes his new painting will inspire children.
My kids are always painting anyway, but I mean, hopefully it will spread like wildfire and children can feel free to paint their own lions.
The press's attention was grabbed by an appearance from a rock legend, but local businesses hope the kings of the jungle will lure in more shoppers.
Ros, why was it important to bring these lions to the capital?
Well, for us, it was important to raise awareness, and it's also a really fun, exciting way to bring art to the streets. Two, it's to draw people in, you know, there's no doubt about it. These incredible, you know, they're fantastic, incredible, colourful, diverse sculptures. And it will draw more people into the area at a time that we all areas need people back on their streets.
You're right, please.
Sally Wood believes the experience of painting the lions has helped her children understand why animals need to be protected.
If you were to give advice to a parent at home who's trying to teach their children about lions and preserving nature, what would it be?
I think just to talk to them, teach them, educate them, read books, watch whatever you can on the television, be interested, let them ask questions and do whatever you can to help.
These lions won't be around forever. On November 9th, Tusk will auction the lions to help fund their work protecting species and empowering African communities. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
And that is all from us for now. I'll be back with the late update after news at 10. Coming up, Charlene with the ITV Evening News. But from me and the rest of the London team, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.